hiccup.
Yeah. Hopefully nobody reported us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're back now.
It's saying live and 7 viewers.
I don't think I saw it coming the first time. I think I just didn't like the two different species. I didn't automatically go there until they visited her family, Sissix's family. But on the read through, she does have a fairly like sensual description of uh Sissix like several times, like her feathers and her like low slung like pants on her hips and stuff. So I like on the second read through, I was like, I see it.
Well, it's always like the way her pants hang off her hips, just so. And I'm like, okay. So according to chat, the stream dropped right about as we were talking about Corbin.
Mm.
So I will jump back to Marion said that Corbin's story definitely brings up nature versus nurture, and both his nature and nurture were crappy. But he started to care more about the crew when he saw what they would do for him. And the point that I made before we froze the point that I made as we were frozen, I guess, was that I've known people who have grown up in very like you are what you can accomplish for other people. That is your value to society. And those people do tend to be kind of jerks because they view themselves as assets. And so their time is very valuable, and it's very important that they accomplish the things that they set out to do, because if they don't, you're literally sapping their value to society from them and making them a less worthwhile person, which will make people reject them. That's basically how that mindset goes. I've only known a couple of people like that. They both universally came from homes where it was very like achievement focused and don't you dare disappoint your parents in this way kind of attitude. And so like if that's kind of the direction that Corbin takes, then I think I get it. I think I get it a little more as a plot element is concerned, because that is kind of realistic. Ollie says, I also love to see human dwarfism represented. I've never ever read a book with a major character presented that way with such respect, which I think we were kind of all three agreeing with, because it's awesome to see that. Breck says, I think I started picking up on Sissix and Rosemary in the middle of the book. Ollie says, I saw it coming, but I'm also a lesbian, so I'm on the lookout for that all the time. Ollie also appreciates the terminology horny reverence. So I may actually just maintain that. Brandon, I presume you're the one that posted that is your new band name?
That's correct.
Okay, and then W. Zahar says, I guess talking about Corbin created an electromagnetic pulse. Twitch didn't want us talking about Corbin. They were afraid that we might figure out he's a clone.
Twitch had to go monitor the algae.
So we didn't just freeze again, did we? Or was it just my phone? Did my phone freeze, or did we freeze?
I don't know. It looks like it's still going.
Okay, it's just my phone then. So talking about kind of other species and things like that, we don't really get a good look at the Harmagians, at least at the part that I'm into the book. Does that change a little bit further in? Or do they kind of remain elusive throughout this entire book?
I don't think you get any more interaction with
Yeah, I kind of walked away from the book not really having too much of an idea of the Harmagians, whether like physically or really culturally or anything. And part of that might have just been the speed with which I was reading, but I just didn't walk away with any of that in the same way I did for like the Aeloans and the Andrisic.
I imagine them kind of as like large jellyfish, snail type creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what it sounded like. Well, and Hanto, which is the like galactic commons galactic common,
Mm-hmm.
uh that as I recall, that is a Harmagian creation.
Right.
And so like Rosemary gets the group out of trouble with the Akarak like raiding pirate party by doing the like face tentacle thing. And Ashby only gets clocked in the face because he goes to rub his eyes, which apparently translates to I would rather rub dung in my face than continue talking to you. Which, like, again, like the little touches, the little like world building clues in this book, just
Yeah,
beautiful.
and just like hand speak. Like there's also, and the even just like the diversity of like how people communicate, like colored patches, like speaking and hand signals, tentacles, like so many ways. Even when they're in like the marketplace, there's like I think they even mentioned like smell, like they can, if you need assistance, we have communication in all of these ways, and smell was one of them. And it was just like, I don't know, I thought it was really fun.
It's another example of those really good like world building touches that you don't really notice because they feel so natural to everything going on.
Well, and they're like breadcrumb trail dropped in there. They're not like opened up like a book within a book in front of you to be like, look at this world building we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm definitely going to read the next two books in this series. I may not be reading them in the next week or two, but I'm definitely going to put them on my list because this one was really good, and I have to imagine that the other two are just as good.
I'm giving serious consideration to that. Bare minimum, I think in the future I will plan to read the two additional books in the series. I just know, given that I couldn't even finish the first one on time, I probably should commit myself to reading The Princess Bride above all else. I might finish A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet first because I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. And you're almost done.
Well,
do you know if the series is complete with the 3,
is
it ongoing?
I do not know that. Let me look because I'm actually like on her website right now.
well, while you are looking, Breck says, I am interested in the rest of the series as well. Really liked this one. I think, I wouldn't be surprised that Alpha Comics and Games in Willow Lawn, Richmond, Virginia, can order copies for those of us who got our copies of A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Oh, book 4, The Galaxy at the Ground Within is coming out February 16th.
Oh ho. Well, that's 4 months away, right? So that gives you enough time. You can read a book in addition to the book club book, basically like every month with a skip month for giving yourself leisure time and still make it in time for the release.
Mm-hmm. So do we want to touch base on Princess Bride really quick before we try and wrap up?
Oh, absolutely. We can't leave without at least touching base on Princess Bride. So Princess Bride was suggested by Craig last month and edged out Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice for this month's book very, very narrowly. It was a really close race. So I'll have to remember that and suggest Assassin's Apprentice sometime when it has less hardy competition. For those of you who have somehow managed to not become at all familiar with this book based on the film that I think just about everybody who watches movies with any regularity has seen at this point. I know we've had at least 2 people who were like, I actually haven't seen the movie, so I'm very intrigued.
How can you have not seen that movie?
I mean, not everybody watches movies as fervently as you and I do, Brandon.
I mean, I'm not even a huge movie person. Like, I went to college with somebody who, up until actually, no, she still hasn't seen any of the Star Wars movies. Which now she's like, I'm not going to, just because this is too good of a piece of trivia. But yeah, Princess Bride is just such a cultural touchstone of the last like 30 plus years. It's just amazing that there are people who haven't seen it.
There are a lot of references that you've been missing if you haven't seen Princess Bride, because I've yet to find a social group that doesn't at least do, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Like,
you know what? To me, it is inconceivable that somebody hasn't seen this movie.
Those people exist. I am not here to shame you for not seeing it. I will say, if you like movies at all, and you like high fantasy movies especially, you should check it out because it still holds up. I think the only thing that I have seen commentary on recently, because there was discussion of remaking the film, and everybody was like, no, don't. Anything else.
If they're going to do that, they have to do it before Wallace Shawn dies so he can be in it.
Find a film that did not do a good job of representing its source material and remake that instead. This one's great. No one needs it remade. They were having that commentary, and a couple of people that I very much respect on Twitter jumped in, and they were like, there is one thing that I will point out while we're on the topic, which is that To the Pain, the way that whole sequence is described, it's pretty ableist, which is it's not ideal. And yes, it is a film from what now, like 35 years ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, like it's still a scene that, like, if you watch it now and you think about it from the perspective of someone who perhaps was not born the 2 eyes, 2 ears, etc., it's kind of awful to think about from that perspective, because it's like, well, that's a lot of really rough stuff to say about how someone's life is right now. Other than that, though, the film is frickin' phenomenal and very well done and exceptionally well acted with a fantastic soundtrack. So
speaking of the soundtrack, I was looking up what year it came out. Just because you were wondering, it was 1987, by the way. Apparently, the music for the whole film was done by Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's it.
I would never have put those two things together.
Yeah, that's a very bizarre and stupid piece of trivia, but I was kind of amazed at that.
I'm excited because I haven't read the book and I haven't seen the movie in years and years.
Yeah, I've never read the book, and I've seen the movie many times. In fact, fun fact trivia, my middle brother got married at a movie theater, and part of the reception was that they showed The Princess Bride.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was adorable. So The Princess Bride has like literal sentimental value for my family. So I'm really excited to read the book. Ollie, I think, not only has already picked up her copy, but has already read the whole thing.
Oh, Lord.
So if you are concerned that you've been reading too quickly and you now have no one in book club to talk to about it, know that Ollie is already ahead of you.
Mine's still sitting in the front seat of my car under a Krispy Kreme box.
Mine is unfortunately still sitting on the counter in Alpha Comics and Games because I've yet to get over there when they're open so I can pick it up.
Yeah, I've never read the book for this, so I'm really interested in it. Like, I know I'm going to be disappointed when it doesn't open with, like, interior, boy's bedroom. Fred Savage sits in his bed as Peter Falk walks in with a book.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, okay. Real quick, jumping back into chat. Ollie said that I don't know if you guys saw me look down and then be like, But apparently Becky Chambers collaborated with Yoon-Ha Lee on a book. And so if we wanted to get double book club author action, we have a book that does that, which is kind of amazing. I thought it would take us longer to get there, but here we are. Ollie also admits that she's never seen a Star Wars.
Not a single one.
I've known a couple of people that have never seen a Star Wars and have no interest in seeing a Star Wars. Which
my roommate and I just did a watch through. It was the first time she had ever seen it. It was quarantine, and she's like, "All right, finally, got nothing but time.
I got all this time. Let's fill it with Star Wars." As someone who loves Star Wars very dearly, there are whole films that I'm like, oh, you don't have to watch that one. But if you enjoy Star Wars and you haven't seen the Clone Wars animated series, not specifically the Genndy Tartakovsky one,
that one
bad. It's really cool. It's very stylish.
I am so tired of Genndy Tartakovsky animation.
It doesn't do much to build the universe of Star Wars.
No.
I'm talking specifically about the Disney CG animated series. It's phenomenal. It makes the prequel films better than they are on their own, which I didn't think anything had that power to draw them out of the black abyss that they were living in.
Josh, I told you about the 4.5 hour edit that I saw on Twitch where some guy edited together Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars in like a 4 hour long chronological cut.
No.
It was amazing.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah. But hot take number 2, the best Star Wars movie is Rogue One.
You're bringing all the hot takes today.
I know. I'll fight anybody on that. It is the best Star Wars movie.
If you're only allowed to judge them based on their own merits and not as part of a series, you might actually be right.
It's the best Star Wars film. Let's say that.
As upset as I am to say that, because my favorite was initially Return of the Jedi, has been for a while now Empire Strikes Back, because I think that's how growing up works. But you can't take Empire Strikes Back as a standalone film. It just doesn't work alone.
Jedi would have been better if Jedi would have been better if Luke hadn't gone back to Dagobah, and also if he had realized he shouldn't go on the mission to the forest moon of Endor. If he had just gone directly to like Vader or the Death Star or something like that. Like by this point, Luke knows the Force pretty well, and he knows Vader's going to be able to sense him. This is a separate podcast that we need to record.
That we can have that conversation elsewhere.
Yeah. Rogue One, best Star Wars film.
Ollie confesses that the reason she read the entirety of Princess Bride already is that she got dates mixed up and thought that this week was Princess Bride week. So that's fair. Also, mad props to you, because I think the books have only been at Alpha for like a week and a half. So like, way to crush that one. Marion, we're back on Star Wars. Marion says Rogue One is excellent, but I don't think a standalone can be the best. Brandon was so about keeping this conversation on track until Star Wars came
I have
up.
a lot of feelings and opinions about Star Wars and Star Trek. Don't get me started.
Started? I hear you. So back to the Princess Bride, the thing we were talking about.
As you wish, Josh. As you wish.
I appreciate that. I'm really excited to read it. I've heard good things about the book. I've heard that it is delightful for reasons alternate to the film, that kind of the direction that it takes is a little bit different, and it's good on its own merits, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, it's basically the film but with more details, like some books are. So I'm really excited for a lot of that. trying to think what else to say about The Princess Bride.
It's a good
I don't
story.
I've heard good things. I'm excited.
I'm excited to read um, an older book because I generally read books that have been published in the past like 5 years, say. So I think this will be an interesting change.
I was talking to Gabe, who some may know as Sound Guy Gabe, or from our Monday night game streams. Uh, and he was like, "Don't you guys exclusively read like more contemporary books?" And I was like, "We have been, but there's no rule stating we have to. So we're reading The Princess Bride."
We should
Um,
we should just read really old sci-fi like Frankenstein or something sometime.
oh man,
That would actually be kind of fun.
put some Jules Verne on the list. Actually, oh my gosh.
Full English
So
class.
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think we're at the point where we start talking books for suggestions. I know normally we start with host suggestions and then jump into chat suggestions, but I actually got 2 suggestions from Discord earlier today.
Oh.
So I'm going to start there. One is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. It is a book about a series of maze-like labyrinths. And there are, as I understand it from the synopsis, there are 2 primary characters, one of which is our main character who is exploring these maze-like labyrinths, and one who is kind of like a supply bringer, but also who requests the main character's aid with some tests and studies that they are doing. And it's the big question of the book is will our main character break out of here? And I'm gonna say as a suspicion right now, not having read the book, but knowing kind of how these plot arcs go, I think our main character might be an AI. There is A Glimmer of Ghosts by Hunter Sky, and that's Sky with an E on the end. And that is going to be kind of a spooky, sort of very October friendly book about, if I recall correctly, ghost stories and kind of the concepts therein. I'm actually, you know what? I didn't pull a synopsis for A Glimmer of Ghosts yet, so I'm going to pull that up now. Do one of you want to go forward with your book suggestion while I do that?
Lauren, go ahead.
Either one. Okay. I have 2, but I'll start with this one. This is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. It is this is another one I read like a year ago. It's about a couple different parallel Londons, and a character who can travel between like these like parallel worlds and some of the differences, and they have different types of magic, and it's pretty cool. I wouldn't categorize it as young adult exactly, but it has sort of a vibe of young adult. So maybe similar to like a Six of Crows, where it's pretty action packed and snappy dialogue. And the characters are maybe like early 20s, something like that. So that would be my suggestion. I thought it would be nice to do a fantasy for a change.
I dig it. Ollie gets her books from Libby, so that's part of how she got started on Princess Bride so early. But wants to throw in Kings of the Wild, and that's with a Y, as a suggestion. I will look up the author for that shortly. For the synopsis on A Glimmer of Ghosts, we have one night of filming in the wrong cemetery changes everything for a celebrity ghost hunter with a half-dead brain. When Melisande Blythe discovers that a secret society of wraiths wants her killed or worse, Mel will have to do the one thing she promised she would never do. Trust a ghost. Which I could see that being a highly entertaining read. Absolutely. That is a Whitney suggestion from Discord, and Whitney suggested it because she knows the author, is a friend of the author. This is a very recent release, and she wants to support her author friend, and I think that's awesome. And it's nice and spooky stuff for, since next book club is going to be the first Tuesday of November. Buddy, mark that down. First Tuesday of November. It'll be immediately after Halloween, so it'll be a good time for spooky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brandon, what do you have for me?
Well, remember that I, until yesterday, was unaware that I was going to be on book club. So I have come to you unprepared with my pockets turned out. But I will say, just based on our conversation a few minutes ago, I think it would be cool, maybe if not for the next book choice, but at some point down the line, that we do pick some kind of classic sci-fi or classic fantasy, like along the lines of like an Asimov, H.G. Wells, or a Jules Verne or something like that. I think that could be fun for this audience to go through and read something sort of foundational for the genre.
So if you were to pick an Asimov or an H.G., like what would you want to throw on the table?
If I were to pick an Asimov book,
first thing that comes to mind,
it would be the first of the robot stories, the first of the Lige Bailey robot stories. There was a trilogy of those, and they were really fantastic. Let's see. For if you wanted to do something like Arthur Clarke. Oh gosh, there's just too many. Like there's that first Rama book, which is awesome. But like really, I would want to do something like way throwback, like Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that, or The Time Machine.
So I'm looking at Isaac Asimov's robot series entry on Wikipedia,
mm-hmm.
and it looks like I, Robot would be the first, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
in chronological order by narrative is what the listing says.
It would be Caves of Steel.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Caves of Steel, because it's like a robot detective novel.
Okay. All right.
It's really cool, but
okay.
It introduces the characters of Lige Bailey and Daniel Olivaw, who spoiler, shows up in various Asimov books throughout the next, like 20 years. But it's about 3,000 years in the future. Earth has discovered hyperspace travel. All kinds of different planets are colonized, and humanity has started basically speciating into different kinds of humans. And Lige Bailey's a detective, and he has a new robot partner, and they have to solve a murder of his robot partner's creator.
Oh, neat.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking if we were going to go old school fantasy or sci-fi, I heard a tale from some people I hang out with on occasion about a Jules Verne story where humanity invents all the weapons they can think of to invent. So they invent a gun that's going to shoot them to the moon.
I told you about that.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. And I'm fascinated. And so I have not yet checked what that book is, but when you started talking about going old school, I was like, that would be where I would want to go.
Yeah, let's see. I'm looking it up. I always confuse it with a different one. Yeah, it's From Earth to the Moon.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw that as my entry into the hat. Kate jumped in a little late to say, I'm just jumping in to say The Island of Dr. Moreau, which I think would be a phenomenal inclusion. It's one that I've never read, even though I've seen many things inspired by. But we're already at the limit of books. We cannot do 7 because if we do 7, whoever gets the like emoticon will win.
We can put that on the table for next time.
Yeah, that'd be a great thing to add for next time. Don't expect me to add it next time because I will fail you in that.
You'll have to jump in.
My memory is only so good.
You'll have to jump in again just to say the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Please jump in again and say the Isle of Dr. Moreau because that would be an exciting addition. So I like this because we have everything from a book that was released this year in February all the way, like we've got a range. Mm-hmm. We have a range, and it sounds like we have a range of topic choices as well. So I'm excited.
I thought of my classic sci-fi for next time.
Yeah.
The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Ooh, Ursula Le Guin's great.
I haven't read it, but I want to. It's all about gender stuff.
Ooh. All right. So here's the question. Do we want to save classic sci-fi / fantasy literature for next time and have Brandon and I can try to find something a little more modern right now?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
You and I are off theme at the moment.
Yeah, we are very off theme. I want to point out too, while I'm reading about this, there was a sequel to From Earth to the Moon called The Purchase of the North Pole, which has the gun club members plan to use the giant gun to alter the tilt of the Earth to enable the mineral wealth of the Arctic region to be put within reach of exploitation.
Woo!
The main characters of this are mid-19th century Americans, by the way.
No. What? No way. Mid-19th century Americans not caring about what might happen to the ecology of the planet when they shoot a gun so large that they melt the North Pole? No.
But we should do like a theme month of classic sci-fi.
I think that's a great call. Yeah. So you and I have to come up with something different to suggest. I'm not saying we have to do it right now.
Snow Crash.
Because, you want to throw Snow Crash back on?
Yeah, I'm going to keep throwing Snow Crash out there until somebody bites.
I mean, I still have a copy of Snow Crash literally available to me right now. You know what? I'm going to throw Guards back out there.
All right.
You thrown out these throwbacks. I will also throw out a throwback.
I have Guards on my bookshelf.
I know. And it's been so long since I read it. It's been so long. Snow Crash is Neil Stephenson, right?
Right. I'm actually curious because I haven't read it in 20 years. I'm curious to see if it holds up.
All right. Now it's a little less wild. So next month, audience and hosts alike come prepared with classic sci-fi / fantasy to throw on the table, and we'll get weird with it. I'm excited.
I like having a theme. I think that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be like a strict theme, but having something a little bit to guide us, I think it'll be neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our 6 books. We have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, A Glimmer of Ghosts by Hunter Sky, A Darker Shade of Magic by E.E. Schwab, Kings of the Wild, which I need to look up, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, and Guards by Terry Pratchett. And you know what? I'm going to pull Kings of the Wild up right now so that I can give it its fair shake. A retired group of legendary mercenaries get the band back together for one last impossible mission in this award-winning debut, epic fantasy, fantastic, funny, ferocious, Sam Sykes. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a quote from Sam Sykes. Wow, this Google Books synopsis is taking me on a journey. Clay Cooper and his band were once the best of the best, the most feared and renowned crew of mercenaries this side of the Heartwild. So that, yes, absolutely. It's by Nicholas Eames. I'm excited for all of these options. I'm excited to see what everybody picks. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. Previously, I've just been running Facebook polls, and then if we wind up with a tie, asking Discord to break it. This month, I am going to set a pinned post in the book club Discord as well as the traditional Facebook post so that anybody who does not frequent Facebook can be a voter as well. Keep in mind, I know who you are on Discord and Facebook alike. If you try to double vote, you're going to be in trouble. Just watching you.
And if anybody's not in the Discord, just go to goblinsandgrowlers.com and you'll find an invite under the community tab at the top.
That is correct. Or you can quite literally Discord goblins and oh my gosh. Can you tell I haven't eaten yet? You can Google Goblins and Growlers Discord, and there's a post on our Facebook that says, hey, did you know we have a Discord? That also has a Discord link on it. Either of those are perfectly valid ways to get on in there. I think that's everything that I've got. So let's go around the horns and do plugs for things. Lauren, as our esteemed expert, if you would take the lead, please.
The only thing I have to plug is my Instagram. If you want to follow, I post mostly reviews of the books I read. So sci-fi, fantasy, romance, a lot of queer books too within those genres. So if that interests you, if you want to read more of those, check it out. That's
Brandon, what do you have for plugging?
So many things, but most urgently, my retro RPG stream is tomorrow night. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do yet, but I think I'm going to do Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, which is a competition mod of the game that turns it into an open world scavenger hunt. And you just see how fast you can beat it. I've been watching a lot of speedrun competitions for it, and it's really cool. It randomizes the characters that you get. So you get duplicates of characters, and you have to find like 17 key items and then fight the final boss.
That's awesome.
It's wild.
For my plug, I'm going to do the usual Quid Pro Roll is a podcast. A bunch of fun nerds get together and play an actual play of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition in a world of Alex Smith of Alpha Comics and Games, who hopefully everyone's familiar with at this point, because that's where we keep getting all our books from. She is the DM, and she runs a phenomenal game, and it's absolutely excellent. We're all a bunch of goobers. Brandon plays an over-the-hill wrestler. I play a rogue who is probably the least troublesome rogue that a group has seen in a while. But it's shenanigans heavy and humor lovely. The other thing I'd like to plug is if you're not on our $25 Patreon level, then you may not be aware of this, but we just got new shirts. Everybody who's already on the $25 Patreon level, you can expect yours here shortly. We're arranging how we're going to get those to you.
Yeah, if anybody watching is on the $25 tier and local to Richmond, let me know if you just want to pick up your shirt at Alpha, because that makes my life a lot easier.
So yeah, check out our Patreon. We've got a lot of different tiers with a lot of really cool stuff on it. Having the Patreon helps us to be able to do stuff like this, because having a microphone is kind of important for being able to do stream recording. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for everyone who's already on there. If you haven't checked it out already, it's patreon.com/goblinsgrowlers. There's lots of options for contribution levels and lots of rewards for those different levels. I think that's everything that I've got. Does anyone else? Oh, you know what? I should jump into chat one last time. Ollie says, Ursula, how's the last name pronounced?
Le Guin.
Ursula Le Guin?
Le Guin.
Ursula Le Guin, big fan. Novella/short story month when?
Yes, I want to do a novella/short story month. Totally here for it sometime.
So we were discussing this before the stream went live, and we were like, well, should December be short story/novella month because holidays and things? And we were like, well, if it's the first Tuesday in December, then we're probably not really running into holidays problems. But if we do the voting for the short story / novella in December and then select it for the first week in January, or I guess it'll be the second Tuesday in January, then that'll be right after everyone's already spent all their money anyway, and a short story / novella will be great because it won't be quite so much out of pocket. I think that's a winning strategy right there.
Sounds good to me.
So next month we will be voting on classics from fantasy and sci-fi, and then the month after, December, we will vote on short stories and novellas. I am terrible at having collections. Actually, no, I take that back. I have a really great option. Never mind. I was about to be like, I hardly read short stories or novellas. I don't know what I'll do. But I've read a very great collection of short stories, so I'll just keep that in my back pocket.
I have so many. I don't read short stories, but I love novellas, so I have a lot of suggestions.
I'm excited. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and joining us on this mystical journey through each of our brains. I'm really excited to get this post up so we can start voting on things. And I'm even more excited to start reading The Princess Bride. And hopefully y'all are too. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll catch all of you on the next book club.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.